Hey, deserving listeners, it's time to continue watching Married at First Sight. Let's watch Taylor and Brandon's story. Let's get to it.
Okay, whatever. Then keep doing what you're doing then, because it's working, right?
I mean, when you look like this and act like this, I don't really want affection. Like, it causes me to kind of shut down. And then that's what I'm saying. We're supposed to be working through this. It just doesn't feel like you're trying to work through it.
I feel like it's me asking you to hang out with me instead of you volunteering your time.
So this is devolving quickly. It started off with the question of, how do you like to be loved? And clearly from Taylor's body language and this sort of thing she's saying, I believe, well, clearly she's hurt and upset about something. And it seems to me that it would stand to reason that she's upset about the previous conversation they had, maybe just the night before. Watch the previous episode about Taylor and Brandon regarding that, in which Brandon got defensive. He was like, can't we just move on? And he was being a little forceful with that. And it makes sense that Taylor would still be upset, to feel hurt by that, still want to talk about it. But that's not what Taylor is saying explicitly. Taylor is just coming across like she's just kind of upset, and then Brandon is coming across like he doesn't really know what's going on and he's trying to be nice. And again, this is when a couples therapist comes in. I don't understand why the couples therapist doesn't get involved, because these two people want to love each other. They want to make this work, but they're misunderstanding each other, which is almost always the cause of relationships going down the tubes. And it pains me to watch these two continue to trigger each other when someone could just come in and help them understand each other. The sort of couples I work with, or not all the time, but in my career, 20 plus years, a lot of the couples have had much bigger problems than these guys. I mean, this is small potatoes. It's just like, you just had this one argument. I've treated couples that have had 40 years of problems, of resentments built up by the time they come into my office. So it's hard to watch. So what I think is going to happen is they're in this scene, they're just going to continue to ratchet up the tension, trigger each other, not really understand each other, and it's just going to blow up.
Like, you go in your room and you play your Xbox, and I always have to come to your room and say, hey, how are you? What are you doing? Like this. But like, it's never the other way around.
There have been times where I want to come in and I want to talk to her and I want to do things, but if I feel like there's negative energy, then I'm not going to bother with it. I'm going to just say hello, and I'm going to go back to my room.
Yeah, so this is classic. This is like couples therapy 101, systems theory. So they're both causing each other's problems. For him, he's like, well, I'm going to give her space because she has a negative vibe, according to my perception, and that means it's bad news to approach her, and it kind of seems like she wants her own space. So I'll do my own thing, and I'm going to entertain myself, and I'll play Xbox. She hears him playing Xbox, and she thinks, why is he doing that? He knows that that's a distancing behavior. And okay, so I'll go in his room, and I'll say something like, why are you playing Xbox? And he'll be saying, well, I don't know. I'm just, you had a negative vibe. And they're both triggering each other. And so as the more Xbox he plays, the more upset she gets and the more negative vibe she has, which causes him to play more Xbox, and so on. If we can help them understand, okay, when I'm playing Xbox, half the time I'm just playing Xbox, but the other half the time I'm hurt and I'm scared, I don't know what's going on. When I have negative vibe, it's not because I hate you, it's because I'm hurt and I'm scared, and here's what's really going on underneath all that behavior that we're seeing on the surface. Negative vibe, playing Xbox, this is surface level stuff. What's going on underneath, so that they can really bond in that way and take care of each other. Oh, you're hurt? That's why you play Xbox sometimes? I didn't know that. What did I do that hurt you? Well, I came into the room, you had a negative vibe. Well, I have a negative vibe because I'm really hurt. You were hurt? I didn't know you were hurt. It just seems like you were negative. What are you hurt about? Well, let's talk about the real stuff here.
And I'm trying, I just don't know what else to do. I've been spending time with you. I've hung out with your friends. I've hung out with our friends.
I'm asking you just overall to spend time with me so that we can talk.
So this is a classic argument. I've seen this so many times in the couples that I've treated. It's an argument of time, which is almost never really an issue when it comes to couples. Spending time together time isn't usually the key to feeling good about a relationship. Obviously, spending time together helps things, but usually people will argue about time when really underneath that is, I'm afraid that you don't really love me. I get this vibe that you don't even love me, and it hurts my feelings, and I'm terrified of that. That's usually what it comes down to. There are many couples who spend very little time together, but have total security in their love because they tend to each other's needs, and they speak very explicitly about their needs. Hey, I haven't seen you in 2 weeks, and I'm getting real scared that you're cheating on me or you don't love me. And you know how I get when I get scared. Oh, and then the other person, yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I love you. What do I need to do to reassure you? I'm feeling the same way, but we've both been working. There's a way to talk about it that's not accusatory and triggering of the other person. She's saying, I want more time, which makes conscious sense. Underneath that is, I want to feel loved. I want to feel like you value me as a human being. For him, it's probably a very similar thing. He probably is like, I want up here is I want you to not be negative. Underneath that is, I want to feel like you're positive about me.
Your wall is back up, and I don't think that's really fair. Like, I am putting an effort into making this, even though it doesn't seem like it to you, I have made an effort. We're still strangers, I'm still getting to know you, and I'm trying.
In order for us to move forward, he's really going to have to let his guard down.
All I wanted was for us to get back to how things were before.
Okay.
I don't know. I will see you later for dinner.
Yeah, that's kind of an accurate observation, or at least I agree with it. What Taylor said there is that, not the way she was spinning it of like he never offers anything. The way I would characterize it is, I think she was saying this, that he will piggyback off what she says, that he doesn't bring up his own things. And I think that seems to be true. It's a common wall that people will put up because they're afraid if they really just express themselves and they're really spontaneous about who they are, that usually results in bad things. There's actually one of the schemas that you can develop, maladaptive schemas you can develop early in life, is this notion that spontaneity of who you are and expressing who you are and just being who you are and saying what's on your mind spontaneously will result in bad things happening to you. Neglect, abuse, mistreatment, something, just people ignoring you. And you develop this maladaptive schema that you can't be spontaneous with anyone, even people that are close to you. And so you just play it safe all the time. Well, what that often does to other people is they feel like you're just not there, like you're not really involved, like you're avoiding, like there's always a wall. And it really hurts the other person. But the way to help someone with that schema is to help them identify that and then help them to alleviate it by various different therapies. But to accuse someone that you're not being spontaneous enough is just going to hurt him more, which is going to cause him to be even less spontaneous. Again, I wish the marriage therapist would get involved.
She told me all she wants is to spend time with me. But even when we have conversations, she's in her phone. She can't go without it. If it's not Instagram, it's a Snapchat, it's just a lie. It just lets me know that you're more committed to that freaking IG page than you are me.
Right, out here with the wife squad.
Yeah, wife squad.
I know you have a huge following.
I love social media. Here, sorry, hold on. Your fingers are in the way.
Can you take a picture of me right there?
It makes me wonder, if she's at the point where she wants to be a wife. Maybe she's just in this for other reasons. I really don't know.
So this is an accusation that people will often wage on people who are on Instagram a lot. And it's a narrative that's in our culture. It's this notion of like, oh, you're on Instagram a lot. You must be fake. You must not be into real life. You must not be into real relationships. You're just a fake person. That certainly can be true, but it's probably not likely. And you can certainly be fake and not into real life and have nothing to do with Instagram. So it's a bit of a weird sort of accusation that I don't really think holds any water. Also, when you look at research on the matter, and often the headlines will be like Facebook and Instagram, it's all narcissism. When you actually look at the studies, it's a lot more nuanced than that. Let's just put it that way. But I think more to Brandon's situation, I think for him, there's something threatening about cameras and involvement of that nature, even though he's on a reality TV show. He has exhibited 2 moments where he had what looked like a traumatic reaction to cameras in his face. And so as he's sitting down with dinner, even though there's a camera in his face and she's taking a picture, I wonder if there's some kind of past trauma that's being triggered even slightly in that moment for him. But perhaps more commonly, what people will happen, why they're complaining about their spouses being on Instagram or on their phones, is because they just feel hurt. You're with your spouse and you want to have a good moment, and they pick up their phone, it hurts your feelings. Even if the person doesn't intend to hurt your feelings, it just hurts. It's like, oh, it's something. It's like now I'm alone while you're doing something on your phone, and I'm the third wheel to you and your phone, and it hurts. So just say that it hurts. Don't call someone fake. Don't call someone, like they don't enjoy real life. Just say, it hurts when you pick up your phone. I feel like a third wheel. Just say that. If you say that to Taylor, she might be like, oh, I'm sorry. I don't want to make you feel that way. Let me just take one picture on Instagram and then I'll put my phone away. There's usually a compromise there. But if you call her fake and she doesn't feel fake and she doesn't seem fake to me, and what is fake really anyway? I mean, what is that? But regardless, if he does call her that, she's going to get hurt, she's going to get angry, she's going to shoot back, and then we're off to the races.
I really want us to be like on better terms than we are right now.
Okay.
I mean, if you're home, I would love to have you help me cook.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure.
Well,
I don't know. I just feel like you
know.
sound so passive. Like, I feel like you don't sound like this is something you want to do.
I was saying earlier, I think that that's accurate, that he is passive and that he seems to react to things that she is doing, usually in a very charming, positive way, not all the time, but usually, instead of being in the room. This is something that I've worked with a lot of people on. Due to past traumas, they will believe there's a number of different schemas involved, but one of them I haven't actually talked yet about, and I don't know if this applies to Brandon, obviously, but one schema that maladaptive schema you can develop early in life due to the way you're being treated is this notion of you have to please other people. You have to subjugate yourself to other people in order to have things go well. And so you're very pleasing and you're very charming and you're very nice. And the shadow to that is that you don't ever really even acknowledge your own needs. You don't think about your own needs, and you definitely don't express them because you don't really even know what's happening for you. And so you're kind of like only defined by the way you react to other people and how pleasing you can be to other people. And you really define yourself, and you find a lot of safety in the ability to please other people. And when other people ask you, well, what do you want? It's one, kind of scary because it's like, well, if we do what I want, that usually means that you're going to hate me. So let's just get back to you. It's also scary because the person might not even know what they really want. So I don't know if that's the case for Brandon. Now, to people in Taylor's shoes, they will often look at the Brandons and they'll be like, I feel like you're just not even really there. It's just like you're going through the motions. And you say that out of an accusation and out of anger. But I wish a therapist was in the room to help kind of word that a different way. Like, okay, Taylor, what's happening for you? Well, I just feel like he just isn't really invested in this relationship. Okay, that's a thought. What are you feeling, Taylor? And eventually we would get to a place where Taylor would say something like, well, I don't know. I guess I just feel hurt and alone. I just feel lonely. And I feel scared that this marriage isn't going to work. Okay. So that feels like it's the core issue. That leads to a thought of he's not invested in this relationship. But if you say you're not invested in this relationship, he'll probably come back with, I'm invested in this relationship. But if you say, I'm lonely and I'm hurt, and I want to know more about you, please reveal more about yourself, then we might actually, help him. One, you're not going to trigger him because you're not accusing him of anything. And then we can turn in and be like, it seems like you're being very pleasing. And then, we can have that kind of conversation. But I don't know what's going to happen here. This usually doesn't turn out well.
I don't know how to get you to stop thinking that I have some ulterior motive. I just don't know how to get you to think positively about what I'm doing or saying to you.
Like, I just don't understand how you think I want to open up to this, to what I've dealt with, like, the last few days. And for you to pull what you pulled on the couch, like, why would I want to talk to that? You had the worst attitude, and you think, like, I want to, like, just open up to you and talk to you? No.
So there we are. He clearly has this notion, either mildly or severely, where he's like, if I get negativity, I'm not going to open up. And why would I open up when I get negativity? And then from her point of view, she's like, well, if he's not going to open up to me, why am I going to be positive? If he's not going to let me in, then of course I'm going to be negative, because that's a terrible thing to happen. And that's the cycle. That's the system. Each causes each other. This is why you need a therapist to interrupt this vicious cycle, help them understand where the underneath issues that this is coming from. He is afraid of being hurt and afraid of having a negative attitude and disapproval happening to him. He's so afraid that he's holding back. For her, she's so hurt that she's negative. If they can express those feelings, they can actually repair that. Instead, they're talking on the surface. When is the therapist going to get involved? Does she ever get involved?
I have a worse attitude.
You did have a bad attitude. You have a bad attitude right now. You had a bad attitude when we were sitting on the couch there. And that was me just trying to understand where you're coming from and show you where I'm coming from.
I'm confused.
If I really felt like I wasn't feeling this, I would walk off of this. I don't care. And you've given me a hard time every which way, and it's frustrating. And you keep catching an attitude with me, and that's not really fair.
Well, why don't you communicate to me in such a way that it changes my attitude?
But if you have an attitude, I feel like I can't talk to you.
So this doesn't bode well. It's kind of emotionally upsetting to me to watch. But that question that Taylor is asking is fine. It's true that if either person can interrupt that vicious cycle. He can let go and open up, take the risk of getting negativity, and then she will be less negative and more positive. But the reverse is true as well. If she were not negative, then he would open up more. Both are true. And usually what people are doing, because they're afraid of being hurt, they usually will say to the other person, hey, you start. No, it's like you're both standing at the edge of the pool and you're like, you jump in. In fact, I remember making this analogy early in my career with a client, one of my very first couple of clients that they were so conflictual that they were screaming. And I was working at an agency, and the agency actually, because I liked getting people yelling at each other sometimes, or our sessions would sometimes get to that place. I didn't like them yelling at each other, but there was so much intensity that it often would lead to that at times. There was so much of that they actually put me in a whole other building. There was like another outbuilding, like an annex building that they relegated me to because my clients were so loud. But hey, I remember this very early couple in my career, and I remember saying to them, you're both standing at the edge of the pool, each of you wanting the other person to jump in first, but neither of you will jump first, and so neither of you are going to jump into the pool of love. I might have even said something like that. And so that's what they're doing. It's just like, well, you need to not be negative. Well, you need to open up. And what they should do is like, okay, he's asking me to do this, I'm going to do that. Because if you do that, then it results in a mutual change in the other person. Now, if both people do it at the same time, if he opens up and she's positive and they both do it at the same time, then we're cooking. But as it is, they're both hurt and they're both seemingly not going to take the first step. All right. Well, that does it for that episode of Psychology in Seattle. Please subscribe, like, comment, bell, patron, do all the things, please. Super cool of you. And take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.